Decoded.
Welcome back to Book Decoded, where we try to condense a whole book's worth of knowledge into a single episode.
Yeah.
And today we're taking on the Mayo Clinic Guide to Better Sleep.
Ooh, good one.
Get ready to learn why catching those Z's is seriously important. I mean, for everything.
Everything.
From how sharp your brain is to even how your clothes fit.
Yeah, it's true. This book really digs into how sleep isn't just about, feeling rested. It's a key player in every part of our health.
So it's not just about waking up without needing that triple shot of espresso.
No.
Okay, spill the beans. What kind of impact are we really talking about?
Well, think about it like this. While you're asleep, your body's like a busy bee behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's got cells repairing themselves, your immune system's getting a power up.
Right.
And even your brain is busy processing emotions and filing away memories.
Okay, so it's a nightly tune-up for your whole system.
Yeah.
But the book also mentioned something about sleep affecting how well vaccines work, which seems pretty wild.
It is. Research shows that if you're sleep deprived, your body might not make as many antibodies after a vaccination. Your immune system is running on fumes and can't put up a good fight.
Wow, that's a serious reason to prioritize sleep. Now, the book talks about these things called circadian rhythms and sleep homeostasis.
Yeah.
Can you kind of break those down for us?
Sure. So circadian rhythm, that's your body's internal clock. It's synced up with the whole day and night cycle, and it helps regulate when you feel tired and when you're ready to go.
Okay.
But then there's sleep homeostasis, sleep pressure. The longer you're awake, the more it builds up.
So it's this internal sleep meter that's constantly going up, up, up,
Yeah,
urging you to get some shut-eye.
exactly. Those two forces, your internal clock and that sleep pressure, they team up to manage your whole sleep-wake cycle.
So how much sleep do we actually, everyone's always saying 8 hours.
Right.
Is that a magic number, or is it more complicated?
Well, the book says most adults need 7 to 8 hours for optimal health. But it does say that, everyone's a bit different. And then you've got these super rare people called short sleepers.
Yeah.
They naturally function on less sleep because of their genes. Lucky them.
So some people are actually real morning larks.
Yeah.
And others are truly night owls.
Yeah.
It's not just a good excuse to stay up late.
Exactly. It's called your chronotype.
Mm-hmm.
Your natural tendency to be more alert at certain times. But even if you're a night owl, you got to make sure you're getting enough sleep consistently.
Okay. I'm starting to get the picture here.
Good.
But what about the quality of sleep?
Yeah.
The book gets into these different sleep stages.
It does.
Right.
There are 4, N1, N2, N3, which is that deep sleep where your body really recovers.
Yeah.
And then REM sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's where most of the dreaming happens. And we cycle through all these stages throughout the night.
So it's not we just conk out and stay in one stage all night. No, more dynamic than that.
Much more. And here's a fun fact that kind of surprised me. You can actually dream in any sleep stage,
Right.
not just REM. But REM dreams, those tend to be more vivid and story-like.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The book also mentions this idea of first and second sleep.
Yeah.
Apparently back before artificial light, people used to sleep in 2 shifts. They'd go to bed early, wake up for an hour or two in the middle of the night, and then go back to sleep.
It's interesting to think about, right? Maybe that biphasic sleep pattern was actually more natural,
Yeah.
more in sync with our circadian rhythms and how light and darkness naturally cycle.
Makes you wonder how much our modern lighting has messed with our sleep.
Nah.
But let's bring it back to our present-day sleep struggles.
Okay.
The book talks about how sleep affects hormones, and I think a lot of people are curious about that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating connection. Basically, when we're sleep deprived, our bodies make more of the hunger hormone ghrelin and less of the fullness hormone leptin.
Wait, so lack of sleep can actually make you feel hungrier?
Yep,
Huh. Explains a lot.
it really does. And the book also says that poor sleep might increase your risk of obesity and even sleep apnea.
So it's a vicious cycle.
It is. You don't sleep well. You eat more,
Right.
maybe gain weight,
Right.
develop sleep apnea,
Right.
which makes you sleep even worse. It
Mhm.
just highlights how interconnected sleep is with every aspect of our health.
Speaking of connections, the book also talks about the link between sleep and our immune system.
Right.
It's like a nightly recharge for our defenses.
Totally. When we sleep, our bodies produce cytokines. Those are proteins that help fight off infection and inflammation. But when you're sleep deprived, that immune response weakens, leaving you more vulnerable to getting sick.
So it's not just about feeling our best. It's about staying healthy overall.
Exactly.
So what are some of the biggest things that sabotage our sleep?
Well, the book points to a few usual suspects, and I bet you can guess some of them. Technology used before bed, caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine.
Okay, let's start with technology.
Uh-huh.
I think we all know that staring at our phones before bed is probably not the best idea.
Right.
But why is that?
It's all about blue light. You see, the blue light from our devices messes with the production of melatonin. That's the hormone that helps regulate our sleep-wake cycle.
So even if we feel relaxed scrolling through social media, our brains are getting mixed signals.
Exactly. It's like telling your body to wake up when it should be winding down. The book recommends putting those screens away an hour or two before bed to give your brain a chance to make melatonin naturally.
Makes sense. Now, what about caffeine and alcohol? Those seem like obvious culprits, but how do they actually mess with our sleep?
Well, caffeine's a stimulant, so obviously that can keep us awake. The book says to avoid it in the hours leading up to bedtime.
Okay.
Alcohol's a little tricky. It might make you drowsy at first, but it actually disrupts sleep later in the night.
So it's like a false sense of sleepiness.
Exactly. It fragments your sleep and prevents you from spending enough time in those deeper, more restorative stages.
And then there's nicotine. I know smoking can disrupt sleep.
Yeah.
But is that true for vaping, too?
Yes. The book says that nicotine in any form is a stimulant and can seriously interfere with sleep. People who use nicotine are more likely to have insomnia and other sleep problems.
So ditching those nicotine habits is a win-win for your health and your sleep.
Mm.
Okay, let's talk about something I think a lot of people can relate to. Sharing your bed.
Ooh, yeah.
Whether it's with a partner, kids, or pets. It's not always the best recipe for a peaceful night.
Definitely not.
I love snuggling with my dog.
Ah.
But he definitely hogs the bed sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Does the book have any advice for these co-sleeping situations?
It does. It says that sleeping with a partner can have its benefits.
Yeah.
But it also points out potential problems,
Oh,
especially if one partner has a sleep disorder, like insomnia or sleep apnea.
right. And when it comes to infants, the book is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Never share a bed with a baby because of the risk of SSIs. We really want to emphasize that.
Absolutely. It's crucial for safety. Babies should always sleep in their own cribs or bassinets.
Now back to partners and pets. The book suggests that even if everyone's healthy, sharing a bed can still mess with your sleep because of different sleep cycles and movements.
It's true. It's all about finding the right balance between the coziness of sharing a bed and the potential for sleep disruption. Sometimes separate blankets or even separate beds might be the best solution for couples.
I think a lot of couples might be hesitant to have that conversation.
I know.
But if it means better sleep for both of you, it's got to be worth it.
It's about taking care of both your individual sleep needs and the health of the relationship.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of factors that we can control, like technology, caffeine, who we share our bed with.
Yeah.
What about the things that are out of our hands?
Right. The book acknowledges that age, gender, hormones, all these things can impact sleep, and sometimes they're just part of life.
So even if we're doing everything right, our sleep can still be affected by these natural factors.
Absolutely. Like age, for example. As we get older, we tend to spend less time in deep sleep and more time in those lighter stages, which can lead to more fragmented, less restful sleep. It's just part of aging.
Makes sense. And what about the hormonal changes that women go throughout life?
Oh, yeah.
The book talks about how periods, pregnancy, and menopause can affect sleep.
Hormonal shifts can really impact everything. Body temperature, mood, anxiety levels, all of which can affect sleep. It's important for women to recognize those patterns and get support if they need it.
Sounds like understanding our individual sleep needs and any potential challenges is like the first step towards better sleep.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, I know the book also talks about sleep disorders.
Yes.
Can you give us a quick overview?
Of course. The book goes into detail about different sleep disorders, like insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and parasomnias. It really stresses that if you think you might have a sleep disorder, it's important to get medical help.
Right. Self-diagnosing is never a good idea when it comes to sleep,
Definitely not.
or any health issue for that matter.
It's always best to talk to a doctor for a proper diagnosis and treatment plan.
Okay, so when should someone consider talking to a doctor about their sleep? What are some red flags to look out for?
Well, the book gives an overview of some common sleep disorders, like insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and parasomnias. If you're experiencing any of the symptoms, it's time to consult a healthcare professional.
Okay, so let's break those down a bit.
Yeah.
What exactly are those disorders,
Sure.
and what are some of the telltale signs?
Let's start with insomnia. It's probably the most well-known sleep disorder. It's basically difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or both.
Yeah.
And it can seriously impact your day-to-day life.
So it's not just about feeling a little tired. It's
Yeah.
more like feeling constantly exhausted and like no amount of sleep is ever enough.
Exactly. And the causes of insomnia can be complicated. Stress, anxiety, medical conditions, medications, bad sleep habits. It's often not an easy fix.
So it might involve getting to the root of the problem, making lifestyle changes, or even trying therapy.
Yeah, like cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which focuses on changing the thoughts and behaviors that contribute to sleep problems.
Got it. Now, what about sleep apnea? I know that one's pretty serious.
It is. It's a breathing disorder where people repeatedly stop and start breathing while they're asleep.
Wow.
The most common type of obstructive sleep apnea that happens when the airway gets blocked, usually by soft tissue in the back of the throat.
So it's not just about snoring loudly, it's about actually stopping breathing.
Exactly. And that puts a huge strain on the body. It increases the risk of heart problems, stroke, high blood pressure, even accidents.
That's scary. What are some signs that someone might have sleep apnea?
Well, loud snoring, gasping for air during sleep, excessive daytime sleepiness, morning headaches, trouble concentrating. Those are all red flags. If you or your partner notice any of these, it's important to see a doctor.
Okay. What about restless leg syndrome?
Yeah.
That one sounds super uncomfortable.
It is. It's basically this irresistible urge to move your legs, usually with uncomfortable sensations like tingling, crawling, or aching. Ugh. It's a neurological disorder that can make it really hard to fall asleep and stay asleep.
So it's not just about having restless legs. It's about these really intense sensations that make you feel like you have to move.
Exactly. And it can be incredibly frustrating and exhausting.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Are there any treatments for restless leg syndrome?
There are. Treatment can involve medications, lifestyle changes, and even iron supplements if there's a deficiency.
Okay.
It's important to talk to your doctor to find the best approach.
Okay. So we've covered insomnia, sleep apnea, and restless leg syndrome. What are parasomnias? That one sounds kind of mysterious.
It is. It's basically a category of sleep disorders that involve unusual behaviors during sleep.
Okay.
Things like sleep-talking night terrors.
Yeah.
And even things like sleep eating or sleep driving.
Wait, sleep driving?
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
It is, and it just shows how strange and sometimes dangerous parasomnias can be.
So what causes these unusual behaviors? Is it like our brains are putting on a show without our conscious knowledge?
Kinda. The book explains that these behaviors often happen during transitions between sleep stages or when sleep is disrupted. For example, sleepwalking usually happens during deep sleep, while sleep talking can happen in any stage.
And those sleep terrors, those sudden episodes of fear and confusion,
Right.
those usually happen in the first few hours of sleep.
You got it. And
Yeah.
they can be really scary for both the person experiencing them and anyone who sees it happening.
This is all so fascinating, but also makes me realize how much I don't know about sleep. I feel like we've only scratched the surface. All right, let's talk about some actionable stuff.
Yeah.
Practical tips for actually getting better sleep, because I think we could all use a little more of that.
Absolutely. So the book really emphasizes the importance of a consistent sleep schedule.
Okay.
Like setting that internal clock and actually sticking to it. It helps regulate that natural sleep-wake cycle even if you're a night owl at heart.
You know, one thing I've always wondered about is how much my diet affects my sleep.
Yeah.
We've all had that, post-Thanksgiving food coma feeling.
Right.
But does what we eat on a regular basis really matter that much?
It does. The book has a whole section on diet and sleep, and it's full of really interesting insights. For example, it suggests avoiding large meals and sugary snacks too close to bedtime.
Okay, so no more late-night ice cream runs.
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
When you eat a big meal close to bedtime, your body's still working hard to digest it, which can make it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Trying to run a marathon right before bed.
Right.
Not exactly relaxing.
Not at all. Speaking of relaxing, though, the book also emphasizes having a calming bedtime routine.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it as a signal to your mind and body that it's time to wind down.
Okay.
It suggests putting away screens, dimming the lights, and doing some relaxing activities.
So like a warm bath, reading a book, listening to calming music.
Exactly. It's about creating that transition from the busyness of the day to the peacefulness of sleep.
Yeah, like giving your brain permission to power down.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold on the bedtime routine.
Yeah.
What about creating a sleep-friendly environment? Like, what can we do in our bedrooms?
Well, the book talks a lot about optimizing your bedroom for sleep. Think of it as making your own little sleep sanctuary.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
I'm picturing a super luxurious spa-like bedroom.
Yeah.
blackout curtains,
Yes.
maybe a white noise machine.
Exactly.
So,
Some aromatherapy. You're on the right track.
yeah.
The key is to make your bedroom dark, quiet, and cool.
Okay.
Darkness signals to your brain that it's time to produce melatonin, that sleep hormone. Quiet minimizes distractions. And a cool temperature helps regulate your body temperature for optimal sleep.
So maybe I should ditch those cute string lights I have in my bedroom.
They might look nice, but if they're keeping you up at night, it's probably best to switch them out for something dimmer.
Okay.
The book recommends a temperature between 64 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit for the most restful sleep.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I'm definitely a hot sleeper, so I tried turning down the thermostat tonight. Now let's talk about exercise.
Okay.
We all know it's good for us.
Yes.
But what about its impact on sleep?
The book suggests that regular exercise can definitely improve sleep quality,
Okay.
but timing is important.
Okay, so no intense workouts right before bed.
Probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
Intense exercise close to bedtime can raise your body temperature and make it harder to fall asleep. Aim to finish any vigorous workouts at least a couple of hours before bed.
Got it. But what about like gentle yoga or stretching?
Those can be great for relaxation and promoting sleep. It's all about finding that sweet spot. Getting enough exercise to help you sleep, but not overdoing it close to bedtime.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about naps? Are they good or bad for sleep?
Well, the book says that naps can be helpful.
Yeah.
They can help you feel more alert and reduce daytime sleepiness.
Right.
But it also warns against long or poorly timed naps that can mess with your nighttime sleep.
So it's all about being strategic with your naps.
Exactly.
Mm.
If you need a nap, keep it short, no more than 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay,
And don't nap too late in the afternoon.
got it. I can handle that. Now, I know the book also gets into the more complicated topic of sleep disorders.
It does.
Can you give us a brief overview?
Sure. The book provides really detailed information on various sleep disorders, including insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and parasomnias. And it really stresses that if you think you might have a sleep disorder, it's super important to get medical help.
Absolutely. Self-diagnosis is never a good idea.
Never.
When it comes to sleep or any health concern for that matter.
Right. It's always best to talk to a healthcare professional for a proper diagnosis and treatment plan.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. Everything from sleep hygiene tips
We have.
to the different types of sleep disorders.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much there is to learn about sleep.
It really is.
We're wrapping up our deep dive into the Mayo Clinic Guide to Better Sleep. And this is where things get a little, a little weird.
Yeah, it's true. We're heading into the territory of unusual sleep behaviors, those strange things that can happen when our brains are basically on autopilot.
Okay, color me intrigued. The book calls these parasomnias, right?
Yes, parasomnias are a whole category of unusual behaviors that happen during sleep. We're talking sleepwalking, sleep talking, sleep eating, and even some more unsettling things like sleep terrors and REM sleep behavior disorder.
It's like our brains are putting on a midnight show without us even knowing.
Right.
I gotta admit, the idea of sleep eating is kind of funny. Imagine waking up to like a half-eaten bag of chips and no memory of it.
It can be funny, for sure, but some parasomnias can also be dangerous. Like sleepwalking can lead to accidents. And with REM sleep behavior disorder, people actually act out their dreams.
Oh, well.
Sometimes that involves violent movements that can hurt them or their bed partner.
That's a little scary. Now back to sleepwalking for a second. Isn't it a myth that you shouldn't wake a sleepwalker?
It's more about safety than myth.
Right.
Waking them up isn't necessarily harmful,
Oh, yeah.
but they might be super disoriented and confused, which could make them more likely to have an accident. The book suggests gently guiding them back to bed if you can.
So, no, like shaking them awake and yelling, boo! Got it. Now, what about those sleep terrors you mentioned? Those sound pretty terrifying.
They can be. They involve these sudden episodes of intense fear and confusion, often with screaming, thrashing, and a rapid heartbeat.
So it's not just a bad dream. It's like way more intense.
Much more intense. And unlike nightmares, which usually happen during REM sleep, and you can often remember them, sleep terrors happen during deep sleep, and people usually don't remember them at all.
Wow, that's wild. So if someone's experiencing parasomnias like sleepwalking or sleep terrors, what should they do?
The book says it's important to get professional help. There might be some underlying medical conditions or sleep disorders that are contributing to these behaviors, and a doctor can help figure out what's going on and how to manage it.
Makes sense. Now, before we wrap up,
Mhm.
I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, the consequences of not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling tired.
It's not. The book really paints a clear picture of what happens when we constantly don't get enough sleep. It increases our risk for a lot of health problems.
Oh, yeah.
From obesity and diabetes to heart disease, stroke, even dementia.
It's like our bodies slowly start to break down from lack of rest.
Exactly. And it's not just physical health that suffers either. Chronic sleep deprivation can also affect our mental health,
Right.
leading to mood swings, irritability, anxiety, depression, and problems with thinking clearly.
It's like our brains are running on empty, trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah. And you know what else is scary? The book mentions that drowsy driving is often linked to sleep deprivation. It's just as dangerous as driving under the influence of alcohol.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that serious.
It is. When you're sleep deprived, your reaction times are slower, your judgment's impaired, and you're more likely to make mistakes when you're driving. It's a serious safety risk.
So getting enough sleep isn't just about feeling good. It's about protecting our health, our mental well-being, and even our safety and the safety of others.
Exactly.
Wow, this book has been a real eye-opener. I've learned so much about the importance of sleep and all the incredible things that happen while we're asleep.
It's been great decoding the Mayo Clinic Guide to Better Sleep with you. I hope our listeners have learned a lot and feel empowered to make some changes.
Me too. This book is going right on my bedside table, and I'm putting those sleep hygiene tips into practice tonight.
Awesome. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference when it comes to sleep. And if you're really struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for professional help.
Great advice. All right, on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off and catch some Z's ourselves. Sweet dreams, everyone.